Hello friends, so this is the last video in the series on creating LLM voice agent app. Now in this video I will cover the remaining LLM ReAct agents and what I call the Analyst team, as well as how to connect them to the main user interface and finally deploy them deploy the complete app live. Now in the first part I had demoed all the ReAct agents and the components in detail. In this video, I will start with a quick walkthrough of what each of these agents and the team and this team do, and then move on to creating them. Now, in this box here, these are the boxes where it is sharing information about. So this is on the background is a LLM agent. What it does is it takes the my text, the user text, finds out what the tool or platform is, and goes and does a Perplexity search about. So this is sharing information about Gina AI, that one. And here it is doing the same Perplexity search to find out what are the alternatives to this platform. So if I'm talking about Gina AI, so here it is gone and found out the alternatives uh, for Gina AI. This is the analyst team. So now let's look at what are the other things it can do. So we have a data SQL analyst, we have a document PDF analyst, and general analyst. So data SQL analyst. So this is the Analyzer LLM app. This is the same app which I had earlier demoed and showed how to build in my previous video. So this is an LLM app which is connected back at a backend to a database, in my case to both Azure and AWS MySQL. So this is a text to SQL agent. So whatever you can do with SQL, you can do it here. In my previous app I had demoed merging data, summarizing data, merging data, and then querying and creating customer profile report. We come back to the Texer app, and so we have seen what the data analyst can do. Now what about the general analyst team? In the analyst team we have a general analyst. So general analyst, this is currently all that I have. I'm just demoing the kind of capability that we can build up. This has got options for if we want to. This is our normal Ask AI. These are our regular normal chatbots with a few additional things. So this guy is a Grok. If you want fast answer, so Grok, very fast. All backend is all in Flowise, right? So this is Grok. Then good this is GPT-4o mini. It is good, low cost. This is again a React agent with I have attached the Perplexity search tool with it for doing web search in case we want to look at it. Then we have then among the premium models, we have GPT-4o and Claude Sonnet. So backend it is basically these LLM models, and I have attached these agents. In a different use case, we might want to give choice about different models to be used. We might want to give a choice of certain models to certain users and so on. But now what about in the document PDF analyst? So this guy is supposed to backend will be a PDF file. I have not uploaded a PDF, I couldn't get around to it, but same in Flowise, you can create a RAD chatbot, upload one or more, or whatever amount of PDF files that you want to upload, and this will do a Q&A on that PDF file. Let's look at first step, how it is set up. So in Flowise, perfectly search, this is the search about, right? This is the about one, where first is and this JSON schema, the schemas for that, all of them are in my GitHub repo. You can directly use it if required, and like I told you, even you can take a screen grab of this video and give it to GPT and they can explain if required. I've shown that technique earlier. So this is a tool agent. It's a React tool, reasoning and action. So it will reason and then act. Here I am using Google Generative. I just try out different stuff. So this is Google Generative AI. I'm using the Gemini 1.5 Flash. Google has got a huge free tier, lovely for many things. Excellent model, excellent this thing. Memory, buffer memory, and custom tool. So this is the Perplexity search tool. Now what is this agent supposed to do? Here is the instructions for the agent. So this is how the agent acts. Keep in mind, you for all user query, always use the search tool. Recognize the unique user query can be often be lengthy. Your first task is to identify the main tool or platform. So the first task for the agent is please identify the main tool or the platform. Once you identified the primary tool, your job is to share some key points about the tool, right? When you initiate the search, focus on finding the main points about the tool. So this is the reasoning part. So when this instruction goes to the LLM, this thing, so it looks at the user input which we are speaking out, it figures these things out, then it uses the tool, then it goes and uses this tool, drafts the search query, and I don't draft the search query and all, right? Draft the search query here to Perplexity that please give so and so 5 points about it. to this tool. Now how do we get this tool? This tool is actually I just copied it from the marketplace. You have to keep in mind Flowise has a lovely marketplace, so it has got all sorts of chat flows and tools and all which are available there. So here I had Perplexity AI search. So I just copied this tool. I just said use template. And that's it. So I said use template and it's saved it, and then I saved it into. This is how the only change I had to make is only one thing here. So when you come here, Perplexity AI search, same thing. I did not even change the tool description. Everything is just direct copy paste. Only one thing I had to do was I had to put my API key. So Perplexity site, you go and get a API key. No, it is so that API key is not free. So I'll just take a little time. It is a little pricey, but I wanted to check out. Perplexity is good for getting this concise result. I don't need to do a lot of other jugglery there. So I am testing it out here. You have Flowise also has the options of many search engine pulling the data from search, or you can set up your own search tool with a fast API server. But here I just took a shortcut very quickly. Perplexity is pretty good in giving this top 5 latest kind of result. So it is paid for, and I had to put my API key there. So that's it. Once I put the API key, that's the only everything remains the same. Then come to the chat flow, and in the custom tool, I have to just choose that tool. Perplexity AI search is the tool. Instructions are here, and that's it. And so in similar manner, the other tool was also set up. The only different Perplexity search alternatives to same thing, everything remains the same, only the instruction to the agent is different. That the only instruction is you identify the main tool, and once you identify the tool, your job is to suggest alternatives, right? So the agent's job is to suggest the alternative, and based on that it will use the search tool to get the right information and then redraft it and send it out. So same, rest of the thing is same, only this thing is different, and I created 2 separate chat flows. Again, all the schemas and all will be there, but it's a very simple, just for nodes are very simple chat flow. And anytime you want to understand anything of the basics of Flowise, definitely Leon Vercel's videos, lovely. I mean, I learned Flowise from there. I still go and keep referring those videos. Now, after you have done this thing, then for both of the tools, now I am not embedding these chat boxes, right? I am not embedding these box like that. I am making an API. I am using this as a backend to make an API call, right? I am using this as a backend to make an API call. So what do I need for that? I just need the API endpoint for this. Where do I get it? I get it here. This is the API endpoint for it. It has given a JavaScript code also. If you want to use JavaScript or Python, in case you want to just directly use Python code for accessing the API endpoint, all of them are same. And these are the API endpoints, and this embed are the embed code. If you want to use this voice bot as a bot only, not a voice bot as a bot only, then you use the embed, full pop-up embed, full page embeds, this, that. So this prediction is the API endpoint. So both of them have that API endpoint. So when you are developing, when I was developing, or if you are developing something new and different like that, you are developing some chat flows, then you go and tell then your AI coding assistant, whichever you are using, that now I want to add, what did I tell him? I want to add a box here. Actually, I added one box at a time, because first I added one box, and then I told him exactly like that, please add a second box. So first, please add this box, please use this API endpoint, use this as for the chat completion, or for completion use this endpoint URL, send it to there, and you get it back. I did that. Then we added the second one, same way, that you use the second AI and you show that in a box in some formatting. Other important thing which I did later on was when I was looking at the code, it was taking a lot of time. Then I realized it was doing this in sequence. First it was doing this, and then it was doing this. So then I told it, instead of doing it in sequence, can you do this in parallel? That as soon as this audio thing is happening in parallel, this should happen, because this takes a little bit time. The lag is there. It goes to Perplexity, comes back, and so on. So the LLM, the AI coding tool Cursor, I think, or ClaudiDev, I use both, whichever one of them, they figured it out how to do it in parallel, and did it. There is still a lag, there is still an area, there is a bunch of improvement, and you can add a text box here, and that speed can be increased. But that is basically the process. Once you have a basic UI and a working app, you add one component by one component. Anytime you want to add a LLM agent or a bot or LLM agent which does any kind of specific task, you can You can create it in your favorite tool, vector, shift, or whichever, but I use Flowise. You can create a LLM agent here. You can create multiple complex agent here. There is a whole agent flow here where you can create agent based on the whole Langgraph format, uh, which are your sequence, what they call multi-agent is there, and there is a sequential agents which are so you can create a whole agent there, and API endpoint you can add there, right? So that takes care of now this box, right? So now we will go on to the next one. This one, general, what I am calling general analyst, which where you can choose your uh, here you can choose your LLM and any kind of multi LLM option agent for multi. You can provide that, right? How do we do that? So let's start at a first step. The first step here is to, these are all three separate agents, LLM agents or chat flows, right? So I created those specific chat flow, and we can create any kind of chat flow or agent for doing any kind of work and integrate it. Here I created a simple, just to demonstrate that concept of multiple agent or multiple LLM choice. I created that. So so those are the three. One is a grok. This again I had shown in the overview also, but I'll share these JSON schemas, but very very simple. This is the most simplest. Just there's a chain here. Memory is there. Grok chat is there. Yes, you need a grok API key, which is, it has got a huge amount of free tier. I don't know how much is the free tier. I use it, and you can choose the model. I'm here using Llama 70B here for pretty fast response. And you give your API key, and some of these basics about API key and all, in case I have not covered, Vercel covers it very nicely, but it's a very simple thing. You can just come here, create new, and of course then you have to go to the grok page to get that. So there is no, it is just a simple, this is between a human, this is default message. I have not even changed it. So we created this one. Similarly, I created the others. So I created the others also. This is the GPT-4o that I was talking about. Same way. But here I use a tool agent. Why? Because I want to do a search. Whenever you want to do some action like search, reach out to make.com, you have to use an agent in some form or manner and link. So I'm using chat OpenAI. GPT-4o is the model. I can choose whichever model I want. Here I have chosen this, and additional instructions are the your helpful assistant. I did not even change it. Custom tool we already covered. Simple, straightforward, right? Nothing to it. So this one is simple. You can so these are simple. Similarly, the other tool also, Claude, everything remains the same. I just have the chat Anthropic node here. I need to give my API key for Anthropic, and then you use it. I think I'm beyond the free tier, so some amount gets charged there for API key. Anyway, I'm using the API key for Claude Dev also. And all of these three, now we have the this API endpoint, right? So we are here. Why do we need the API endpoint? Because we are using a custom front end. We are not using the Flowise bot directly. If we want, we can directly use this bot, but we are not using it. So we want to create some more stuff there, options and all, and we want to use a custom front end. So you will get those three for four, right? How many? We have the general analyst 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 chat flows are there in Flowise. You have got 4 API endpoint URL. So when I was doing this, once I had built this, and this was working, then I told it, please add this line called analyst team, and please add 2 blank placeholders at that time, and please add something called general analyst. And what should that be? It should be a box like this. In the box, it should give an option like this, and on option, this is the text it should show. And actually, what it should do? Actually, it's a chat bot, and these are chat bot where I want you to reach out to these endpoints for completions and get back the response. Get back the response. So it got back it took that instructions and it created that. It took a couple of iterations. Something was not working and some color was not seen and so on. And then I give a full page option and so on. One important thing to keep in mind is here. You might want, here I am using it just as an API endpoint, this one, where it is not keeping in memory. The second question is not related to the first question, right? So it is just a completion. What if we want it to remember, right? So here, all these analysts, all these people, these remember the conversations, right? How do I do that? For that, we have to give a session ID, right? So Flowise documentation has it, and I just pasted that documentation. So So I got that I had seen this once in Leon's video. I've forgotten, but I remember having seen it once. So from there, then I remembered and I just did a Google search, and uh, so you have to use this override config, right? You have to use this override configs, and there persist memory. So this one. So I just copied this whole thing here, copy paste here. So basically you have to use say override config, and then you have to give a session IDs, and every time that you are sending a chat for completion, you have to keep the same session ID, right? So so you know that's a in React and all those components, you know, they all those things, you know, that part of day-to-day thing, session management is, you know, this thing. So I just copied pasted this and gave it to our React to our cursor ID. You know, I mentioned here are the 3 4 URLs, so and so. And once that was working, then I said, you know, we need to maintain session ID memory, and here is a code patch. Please create your own session ID and do that. So it created somewhere, it is creating generals and this pop up, right? So here it is all those option fast code what has to be shown. Here are all the 4 URLs which I had given, API endpoints, and there it is creating a session ID, generate session ID. So it generates a session ID, whatever, return something random, this that some function, and that session ID whenever it is making an API call, that session ID is passed. Where is that API call? Yeah, so here is the API call, right? This is the response fetch URL. It is picking this URL variable from their post, and then here is the question is this is the input message, override config session ID is this session ID. So so here how does this work? So I will just restart this. Suppose I restart this. Now this guy, I'm not passing any memory, right? So if I say, hey, my name is Amar.
Hello, Amar. How can I assist you today?
Okay, now I will ask him whether he remembers my name. Yeah. Hey, what is my name?
I'm sorry, but I don't have access to personal information about you, including your name.
It doesn't have to.
How can I assist you today?
Right. So it is forgotten because I'm using this as a chat completion endpoint only. Each input message is different, which is very different than say this one. This general analyst, they are supposed to persist with the memory. So I will say here. So I will say my name is Amar. Right. So now it is continuing the same. So I will say what is my name. I remember your name is Amar. If I had not given the session ID in memory persistence, then it would have forgotten my name. It would, so the memory continues. So keep in mind, when we are accessing it via independent API call, then we need to do this, right? Which is very different than the second bot. If I am directly using the Flowise bot as is, right, then all this is not required, right? The memory is there only. It's the same session. It's the same message conversation. Okay, so the next one is integrating the data SQL analyst and integrating the document PDF analyst. So we'll cover both of them in one step. Now one difference you have to see is the difference between general analyst versus say data SQL analyst. Here it is, I am this is from the previous messages there. Here I am using the chat flow or the chat box or a bot of Flowise itself. I am not using it as an API endpoint. So what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is, if I come here and if I come here, this is the analyzer app. So here I am using this bot itself directly. I am using the UI of Flowise. So you can make some changes. You can give some heading and all to there, like I had shown. You know, the way you do it is configuration. Now setting up this bot, there is a separate video. So I will give a quick idea here. But this itself is app which again modular. So I am able to plug and play. So this is an app which at a background, this is the architecture behind this one app. You know, this is the user query. Then we have our bot LLM app, which is converting natural language to SQL. That SQL then goes to a fast API server. So I have developed and deployed a fast API server in the middle. What it does is it takes the query, and that is what connects to the AWS warehouse. Then the query comes back to the fast API server, which hands it over to our Flowise front end and this thing. The reason I did this is for a variety of reasons. For making it modular, I can plug and play, change any front end, change backend database. I don't need to keep on changing the schemas and all. So that's the whole thing behind it. And this a fast API server is what the tool agent here is referring to. So tool agent, same like any other tool agent, looks very simple. Tool agent memory chat, I'm using GPT-4o, and this tool agent, what is this tool agent? I had covered in detail, but I will just show you very quickly. This tool agent is this tool agent is which one? This one, right? So it takes the SQL query, and which so the job of the LLM is to take the natural language and convert that into SQL query and figure out, also pass on which cloud variable, AWS or schema. So this is what like I told in my earlier video. I had shown in detail, what this means. Input schemas, these are the variable that the LLM is supposed to use its reasoning and create. So LLM is supposed to create an SQL query from the natural language. It is supposed to figure out AWS or Azure from the natural language, and this is the API call. So there is an API endpoint here which is pointing to my fast API server, and then it passes these queries and you get the result. So that is covered in details there, but you add this tool here and you are good to go. I can connect and plug and play this anywhere. And how is the data getting updated in AWS table that I had shown in the earlier section? From make.com you can connect it directly. So here what I do, instead of using curl and all, I use the share chatbot option. So this is a I get this URL, so which is a direct URL. I can direct copy, control C, control V, I put it here, and you get a full page chatbot which is here. It's all showing the whole history from my session. So you get a full this thing. I can change the size and all that. I can use this, or I can use the embed code. So now when I came back to cursor ID, so there I told it that now add another box, and another, in this box please use this embed URL, and I told him this is an embed, this is not an endpoint, this is an embed. So please just show that embed first in a small box and then give a functionality for a big box. So that's how it was done. Same for document PDF Analyst. If you see, this is also the same way. It is actually a Flowise direct embed. Same box opens up. I am not using a custom front end here. In fact, I have not even set up a document behind, so there's nothing much to. I just showing that as a placeholder, more like a placeholder. But if you were to do that, you can create any type of agent for anything, and connect it there. For a demo purpose, you can. So for that agent, you can create a RAG pipeline. You directly create, or best is to go to marketplace. RAG, right? So many. This is agentic RAG, Flowise document Q&A. You can upload a document and Q&A. This is agentic self-improving RAG that checks for relevance. So you can use whichever checkout which is start. This gives you a starting point. If you want to use agentic function, okay. What kind of, and it's got notes. It is using retriever tool. What kind of agent is this using? Start node, and also this, I think this is using that LangGraph framework in background, sequential agents, right? So this is a good starting point, and in different points in time you can upload your files. These are things, if you want to understand further, you have to look at Leon Van Zyle's videos. He explains these things beautifully. So again, there also I told the app that okay, embed that somewhere. Somewhere there will be the embed link for both of them. These are all the embed URLs, right? So these are all the document PDF and list. So these are all the embed URLs directly. There is no prediction. There is nothing called predictions which is here. Once we have this and we have it working on the local directory, then what do we do? Just like I showed in the previous one, whichever front end you are using, ultimately you push it to GitHub, right? So it goes to GitHub. It is in my GitHub repository, which is public now. You can fork it. Many of the API endpoint URLs I have masked it, so you'll have to give your own. Now once it is there, in my previous video I had showed you how to deploy, right? How to do a deployment. Very simple. Just click and you are up. So same way, you do this. I do project. I have to select the right repository. So I have to select the right repository there. So I think this is the one. I've got many versions, so doesn't make a difference. So import. So connect to this thing, and something, and then root directory. Sometimes my root directories are different. No, I think this is the right correct root directory. Okay, so I will say deploy. So this is the actual app repository. If I've got the repository correct, multiple versions are there. So let's see. So it is now deploy. I'll say deploy. The project names. I'll delete it later on. So it is deploying it. So this is again a very fairly small app, nothing big. It will probably hardly take less than a minute, right? I think probably take 30 seconds or so. There we go. So it took around 40 seconds to deploy, and this is the second deployment. If I keep here, click here, same thing there, same guy is here, right? No difference. The URL is the URL is very specific to Vercel one. In my live one, I have given it a custom domain. My domain is dixig.com, so it's whatever xyz.dixig.com. At this point in time, we have covered all the sections, right? We started with creating the main agent, and then we went through connected to make, and then the Google script with it. Then we created the UI with cursor and integrated all the other this thing and deployed on Vercel. So if you have been replicating this at this point in time, then if the app is working, then congratulations.